Hello, this is part 3 of chapter 16 on monopolistic competition. We're going to wrap up by comparing monopolistic competition to perfect competition, talking about welfare a little, and advertising, which is a key feature of monopolistic competition, and then I'll just wrap up with some takeaways and key terms for the chapter. Alright, so we are going to discuss monopolistic versus perfect competition. They're very similar, but there's a few key differences. Two of them. First, there's excess capacity. So as we mentioned earlier, and I'll go back and take a look at the graph, because in long run, we meet this equilibrium right here. However, demand is equal to average revenue right here. So this is where, and average total cost right here. So this is where average total cost is minimized, which means that that's actually the point that we would be at the most efficient because we're producing the most goods for the lowest average price. So there's this excess capacity. The firm could produce more and reduce its cost by doing that, but it doesn't because it's profit maximizing. And if they produced here, we would be selling here, and the price would be below the average total cost, so they'd be losing money. So they don't do that. So that creates excess capacity. The firm can produce more for less, less on average, that is. It's not actually producing it for less money. So it's at the point of tangency, they could produce more and still reduce their average total cost and get to that efficient point right there. So they choose this because they make more profit at the point they choose, and they would not make profit at that point. So that's the profit maximizing point. The second thing is markup. This is just the idea that price is above marginal cost. So what it costs them to sell that last unit, they're actually selling higher than this. This is because demand, marginal cost, and marginal revenue don't meet. Unlike with perfect competition, where marginal or demand is going horizontally, so marginal revenue and marginal cost cross at that same point. Here, demand is up here. Marginal cost and marginal revenue meet down here, so consumers are willing to pay a higher price and they get markup. And the key there is that price is equal to average total cost, which is greater than marginal cost right there. That's very key. So that's how you get short-term profits and why there is markup. Okay, so let's talk about welfare now. So monopoly and perfect competition are a little simpler than monopolistic competition and oligopoly. This is a very complicated situation. First, you do need to know that this is inefficient. However, even though it's inefficient, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing for consumers and producers. So there is this deadweight loss because there's markup, people aren't paying it. But it's hard to prevent this because you can't really regulate all the firms that are in monopolistic competition. If we think win around, it would be too many to count. There's so many, and the government does not have the capacity to regulate that. Additionally, if you were to force firms to produce at the efficient scale, they wouldn't do it because they would lose money. So if they were producing that efficient point where average total cost is minimized, it is efficient, they'd lose money. So if you're forced to lose money, you're going to leave the industry. So it's a choice between have something or have no firms because they would all leave. So more firms, another good thing about monopolistic competition is more firms create choice and added benefit to consumers. So while products are similar, people have some choice. They don't just get the same pen or the same phone. There's decisions you can make and things you can do to fit your needs better than other products. However, more firms means less profit for current firms. So when there's less firms, that helps firms. When there's more firms, it helps consumers. There's a definite balance here. If consumers are doing too well off, then firms will leave. If firms are doing too well, firms will come and you'll meet that equilibrium point again. So last key thing about monopolistic competition, I'm going to the next slide now, is advertising. So monopolistic competition has advertising. Why is this? So imagine you have 20 different products. They're similar, but there are some key differences. How do you let people know what your key difference is? How do you let people know that your tablet is good for reading versus playing games versus doing business work? Well, you advertise to readers or you advertise to business people. And this is what Amazon does with the Kindle. It's what Windows does with their business oriented tablets, what Apple does. You advertise to attract the consumer who wants your unique product in the market. So the more differentiation there is, the more advertising, um, which is why you see a lot of advertising for things like cereal, soda, medications. Think about what you see on TV. Typically, those are going to be a monopolistically competitive market, and the amount of revenue that goes to marketing differs. Some of the higher estimates I've seen, and the book says this is 10 to 20% of revenue. So think about up to a fifth of what a firm sells, they're going to use to advertise. This is pretty high. Typically, it's significantly lower. So advertising has pros and cons. The pro side, some of the things that advertising can do, it provides information. You don't know about a product if it's not advertised. You can learn about the features, the price, different deals, all these things you learn of through advertising. You see something on TV, in the paper. That's how you learn about a product. Without that advertisement, you might not learn about that product unless it was maybe word of mouth or something. It also fosters competition because when one firm sees another firm advertising, they've got to make a better product than that or offer different features. So that information and that aggressiveness in business creates competition. There's also an argument that advertising is very bad. Some people argue it's manipulative. If you watch the Super Bowl commercial, they really had nothing to do with what was going on. It's not informative. It's about manipulating people or attracting people on some other thing rather than information about the product. So frequently you'll give people who say great things about a product, not the reality of the situation and just the information. You're trying to sell something, which is dangerous. It can also impede competition if you have someone who can market too much and really just push everyone else out. You can create a dominant market and maybe move more towards monopoly. The last one is that it's a waste of money. Why are we spending 20% of our revenue when we could be lowering prices or creating a better product? Well, the argument is people wouldn't know about the product without advertising. So there's really an argument for both sides. Advertising can be both good and bad. It's not a clear-cut issue. And that's an really interesting discussion topic. In businesses have to determine how much they market. There's whole majors on marketing, how to market, when to market, who to market to. It's an incredibly difficult, complicated topic. So the last thing that advertising is used for is as a sign of quality. So let's say you have a bad product. Let's say we're making pizza and you know your pizza sucks. Like you can get frozen pizza. You can run a pizza shop and people could go to the grocery store and get a frozen pizza that is better than your pizza. Are you going to advertise for your pizza? Well, think about it. I wouldn't. And I would recommend you don't too, because even if you can get people to come into your shop, the second they buy their pizza, no one's coming back. Everyone is going to say, this sucks, why buy it? And all that money you spent advertising is actually going to hurt your business because people now know you have a crappy product. It would be a better investment to spend that money trying out new recipes, maybe get a new chef to make a better product. So in this way, advertising can be a sign of quality. You're not going to advertise a product unless it's good. You use advertising to bring people in, and then once they see that you have a good product, then they stay with your product. This is the ideal. It's not always true. As you see, there are products that are consistently advertising. People know what they are, yet we're still advertising to sell them. And they might have a really bad product that they can make better. But advertising can become a key part of keeping their market. So that's the goal for advertising, or maybe the ideal, what we would like advertising to be. Not always the case, though. Second to last slide now, key takeaways. There's 4 of them. These are things that you should absolutely know about monopolistic competition. Mostly facts, not necessarily analytical points. You definitely want to know your analytical points, your graphing, using this base to understand things. So first, what is monopolistic competition? There's many sellers. It's a competitive market with free entry and exit, and they're selling slightly different products. So everyone's selling tablets, but maybe you sell a tablet focused on reading or games or business. There's lots of slightly different products in the market. Second thing, firms, like they always do, maximize profits, and they do this when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. I'm just noticing there's a little typo in that. It says marginal revenue equals marginal revenue. I'm going to correct that, and I'll post this in the annotated slides. So marginal revenue equals marginal cost. You're going to sell until the last product you sell, you made as much money as it costs you to make. So if it costs you $7 to make something, you will sell until you make less than $7. When you make $7, I'll sell that because it's a wash. At $6.99, I'm not selling it. I'm not going to sell something I lose money on. Third thing, monopolistic composition results in two different results from perfect competition. First is excess capacity. Second is markup. Firms could produce more at a lower average cost, and they sell above their marginal cost, meaning that they mark up on that last product. Last thing, firms advertise to get consumers to buy their unique differentiated product. And advertising is a key feature that you'll see in monopolistic competition that you might not necessarily see in perfect competition, where everything's the same, or monopoly, where there's only one product. So you get a lot of advertising to get people interested in your version of the good. Last slide is just some key terms. You definitely want to know these words. And that is all for this week. I have emailed out a problem set to go with this as well. Take Thursday and Friday to work on that. You can work on it over break when we get back. We'll take a quiz. I would also recommend getting started on Chapter 17, Oligopoly. Over break, if you haven't gotten it yet, you'll get it on Friday. And we'll get into Chapter 17 after break. I hope you guys have a great break, and we'll be corresponding with you via email. And let me know if you have any updates, college, life, if you just want to chat. More than available. Good luck.